Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Forever in a Day tour with University Housing. I am Timothy, and I am the Assistant Director of Constituency Engagement here within the NC State Alumni Association. And we are so excited that you all have joined us to go on this tour with University Housing. Just a couple of housekeeping things. This is a webinar, so your cameras and your microphone are automatically disabled, so you won't be able to use those things, but you will still be able to interact with us. If you are on StreamYard, you will see at the bottom of your screen, there's a place you can ask questions, or if you're joining us on YouTube Live, if you look to the right of your screen, you can ask questions and participate with us in that way. Today we have Chester Miller here with us from University Housing, who will be giving us this incredible tour. And so, without further ado, I would just like to kick it off. It's time to kick it off. So here is Chester Miller.
Thank you, Timothy. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here with you to kind of share and take a walk down memory lane and with respect to University Housing here at NC State, and also transition into what I hope would be an enlightening overview of where life stands, campus life stands here at NC State as of today here in 2020. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get started with the presentation. All right, so my name is Chester Miller. I serve as Director of Residence Learning and Academic Initiatives for University Housing. In my role, I focus on student engagement and have oversight of our programs that I will speak more about this afternoon in the presentation, which are called Living Learning Communities. Here at NC State, we call them villages. Our Living Learning Villages were aptly named by the late great Kay Yow, and the village name and moniker actually comes from the fact that it takes a village. These programs do provide experiential learning and student engagement opportunities for our first, second, third, and fourth year students, and are a great program, which I'll talk about soon. So as we get started with our presentation, a tour of University Housing, I thought it would be important for us to take a stroll down memory lane and hopefully, talk briefly about some of the residence halls and dorms that you might know them as when you were attending NC State as undergrad students. Recalling fond memories of living in Watauga Hall as one of the oldest one of the oldest residence halls on campus, and recognizing here at NC State University the growth and establishment of the university started on the east side of campus, closer to downtown Raleigh, and kind of progressed towards the western part of campus. And you can kind of tell the difference dramatically when you look at our architecture and you look at the infamous red brick from one side of the campus to the next, and some of the architectural history, rich history of how the exact footprint of many of our university buildings, our dorms, residence halls, and academic structures. I wonder how many of you remember and recall the old Pullen Hall, which served back in the day as a residence hall, a library, and was really the seat of a lot of campus student activity and engagement back probably when some of you were in undergrad. And thinking about the opportunities that you had to kind of connect with students, some of the socialization and activities that would happen both in the dorms and in different areas of campus. I think one of the important aspects of the college experience here at NC State is community. And we say that a lot, not just in university housing, but I know many of my colleagues across the country, talks about the importance of building community, establishing connections with students in the college, while attending undergrad at the institution, and all of the opportunities that are afforded to students as a result. And many of those things have not changed over time. And I will kind of cite some of those examples. How many of you remember the McKimmon Village housing complex, which served the population of married students? That community, McKimmon Village, was aptly named, was renamed to E.S. King Village, and still today serves our married student population, but also serves some other populations, which I will touch on later in the presentation. And I'm pretty sure some of you, many of you, if not all of you, remember Brugal Hall. Brugal Hall was built in 1958 on the western part of campus, and became a very popular place for students to live. I recall digging in some of the university library archives and found that Brugal Hall was so popular that students actually formed a line outside of Brugal Hall, just trying to find a bed space to live in the community. Another residence hall that I think many of you will recall was aptly called, when construction was completed, Dorm 62. That means that this building was actually constructed in 1962, and I wonder how many of you know what the name of that dorm is today. I think some of you have guessed right. That is Lee Hall. That is Lee Residence Hall that sits on the western edge of campus. And again, when I talk about student engagement and finding your community here at NC State, many of those locations, or that the primary location where a lot of activity happens, is the Brickyard. But another popular place, even for students today, is the Talley Student Center, which was originally built in 1969 and has undergone quite a bit of renovation. If you've not been to campus recently, it is a phenomenal architectural marvel here at NC State, and really draws a lot of students, visitors to campus. They flock to Talley Student Center. And many of our students that live on campus today spend a lot of time in the Talley Student Center. So I'm going to transition to the next slide and continue talking about, and hopefully, bring smiles to some of your faces with some of the images that I'll be sharing during the presentation. One of the things that I found in preparing this presentation was the fact that all of our residence halls, up until a certain point, were single gender based communities. It was not until 1970 that the first co-ed residence hall was built, and that is Lee Residence Hall, or what I just referred to as Dorm 62. And today, one of the things to note about our on-campus housing options is that the majority of our options for students are co-ed. So if students coming to NC State today, and I'll tell you what co-ed means. Co-ed does not mean that females and males are living in the same room. Co-ed means for us is that whether they're on the floor, on the same floor, or on a different floor, what you may find in Lee Hall, which is a suite style community, is that one suite might be male and another suite might be female. So everyone that lives in a suite, and a suite might have roughly 4 to 5 bedrooms with 2 students per room, but every student in that suite is of the same gender. Okay. I wonder how many of you could share and kind of think about where did you find your community when you attended NC State? Even back, when you were undergrads, and some of the things that we think about today when students attend NC State and live on campus with us is the importance of community and where you find your community. And many times. Students find their community in student organizations, joining fraternity and sorority organizations, whether it's student government, the Black Student Union, as well as actually living in the dorms. Because again, if you're not in class, many of our students' schedules. Students spend their time in the residence halls, in the dorms, or even in the dining halls. So one of the things that I found in pulling some of this archival information from my library is that many of the students that live with us began to advocate for themselves and to begin to change how the communities really provided an experience for all of our students to feel a sense of belonging and a sense of welcome here at NC State. So when I say where do students find that, where do you find your community? I'm really referencing, where have you established a sense of belonging? Where do you feel most connected when you were an undergrad here at NC State? And we ask those same questions today of our students. One particular reference that I'll make in terms of student organizations is our inter-residence council. I wonder how many of you were active student leaders within the inter-residence council. The inter-residence council for us in University Housing is a student-led governing body that sort of represents the voice, serves as the voice for all students that live on campus, and help to establish and provide some feedback to the university as well as the housing department on how to create a community and a place where our students really feel like they're at home. Again, students come to NC State from all over the state, all over the country and the world, and we want them to find their place and have a sense of connection and make the place feel home. So what you'll find in one point, important part to note here in terms of community is, and this is kind of a fun fact, back in 1971, cooking spaces were approved for dorms to avoid students illegally cooking in their dorm rooms. And I can only imagine what that was like back then in the 60s and 70s when you were attending NC State, but it's even more prevalent now, even with students, where we have created kitchens or micro kitchens or kitchenettes in our communities. What we find is sometimes there needs to be those life skills that we help to educate students. And I'll talk about that a little more in a minute. So let's talk briefly about dorm life. Many of the things that you may have experienced when you were undergrads and living in the dorms on campus is some of the things that we find relevant today for our students, is the connection with others, whether you had a roommate that you never knew before, or if you had a roommate that was what we call a preferred roommate, a friend that you actually came to NC State with, you chose to live together, and you sort of navigated the campus experience together. Many of our students, in the pictures that you see here at the top, is two students that are actually in a dorm room in Bregal Hall. And this picture was actually taken back in the 70s, in the early 70s. And what you see is, one student studying and, another student kind of posing for the picture. And then the bottom picture, what you see is a student sitting on a bed holding a tennis racket. And this student is actually in a dorm room in Metcalf Residence Hall. So I wonder how many of you in the audience actually lived in either Burgaw or in Metcalf, or even one of the Tri-Towers. Certainly popular places to live on our campus even today. So dining, I listed dining because I thought it was an important aspect of what it meant to live on campus. And it's even true today. Specifically, when you think about attending college and living on campus, where you build community, you meet new people. A lot of times you meet new people around food. Free food, whether it's snacks or going to Tally or eating Howling, or having and enjoying Howling Cow, or some other aspect of campus. A lot of times those social connections and strong networks that you build happen within the dining halls on campus, or in relaxed environments. And I found some old images and pictures from some of the dining halls when many of you were undergrads. Leisure Dining Hall, which is in the bottom picture that you see here, was a dining hall on the eastern part of campus. I thought it was really fascinating to see some of those images. And of course, these dining halls, these buildings where these dining halls were housed are no longer, actually they serve a different purpose today. And then Harris Dining Hall. Harris Dining Hall actually is on the central part of campus, right there at Dan Allen Drive. You see sort of the tail end of a car on Dan Allen Drive. And actually where Harris Hall sits is actually where I'm talking to you from, which is part of Pullen Hall. So Pullen Hall is where the University Housing Office sits. And the main housing office sits, and that's where I'm actually talking to you today. And this building that I'm sitting in is called Pullen Hall. But if you recall, the old Pullen Hall that served as a dining hall and a library on the eastern part of campus was actually set on fire. And it was found that a student actually set the building on fire. And it had to be rebuilt several times. And the current seat of Pullen Hall obviously is on Central Campus, and that's where I'm talking to you from. So let's talk about traditions. NC State is deeply rooted in traditions, and I wonder, how many of you can recall and actually recall some of your experiences in participating in some of the traditions that are somewhat connected to our residence halls. And I've listed 3 traditions here, and I'm actually showing a picture of Move In, and also what I thought was kind of funny, and I actually wonder why it stopped, is in the bottom picture, the Tri-Towers toilet paper event that took place back in the 60s and 70s. Traditions here, like I said, are a huge thing for NC State. And, some of these traditions actually carry on today. One that I wanted to note very first listed here is Tucker Owen Beach. I should have actually added a picture of Tucker Owen Beach. So Tucker Beach sits at the cornerstone, or the intersection on Central Campus between Tucker and Owen Halls. It's a volleyball court hit there. It's a very beautiful landscaped green space where many of our students lay out, get some sun. We have hammocks and really some picnic tables, and some other areas where students can kind of enjoy and be outdoors, feel a part of nature. And that's one of the great things that I like about working with University Housing, is that we've done a really great job in maintaining the look and feel, the historical feel and sense of community of our buildings, and also the green spaces around them. Again, being at NC State and being a part of the Wolfpack community certainly means that students have a sense of home, they have a sense of connection and a sense of belonging. So why do we call them residence halls and not dorms? Well, in some of the work that I do for University Housing at NC State, the reason why we call them residence halls is because we recognize that students spend more of their time outside of the classroom, and certainly a lot of their time is spent in the residence halls. And we have transitioned into just thinking that our residence halls are places where students live and just engage in activities that may not necessarily be connected to some key or mindful curriculum or sense of learning or education. So for us, we spend a lot of time with our staff, full-time grad staff and undergraduate staff, where we've invested a lot of resources into helping students develop both personally and professionally in community. I spoke a lot about at the beginning of this presentation about creating a sense of belonging, establishing community. We support the students' academic success, and also our residence halls are a place where students can learn more about themselves, learn more about how they see and view themselves in the world, their impact on the world, as well as how to go out and actually do things and do action to help improve their community. And one of the ways that we do that, and actually before I start talking about how do we do that, I'm going to give you a brief overview of some of the marketing information that we share with students and parents when they're thinking about attending NC State.
Welcome to NC State. I'm Marina.
And I'm Max.
And we'll be showing you what it's like to live on campus and be a part of the Wolfpack community. When you arrive as a first-year student at NC State, you'll be assigned one of the three types of residence: suite style, hall style, and hotel style. The building that you're in now is one of the 20 residence halls on campus and is considered a hall-style building. The majority of our incoming first-year students are assigned to spaces like this one. Besides basic amenities like loftable beds, desks, and storage spaces, each room has a cable hookup and streaming service for your TV or mobile devices, a microwave, and a mini fridge. Every building is air-conditioned and has high-speed Wi-Fi internet, laundry rooms, community lounges, and study areas. Speaking of community, another unique aspect of NC State is our Living and Learning Village experience. I'm going to pass it over to Max to tell you more.
Thanks, Marina. Villages are communities of students who share common academic, personal, or lifestyle interests. This is a great way to make friends and establish your community as soon as you arrive on campus. All students are eligible to join a village, so be sure to check out your options on our Living and Learning Initiatives website. Besides villages, there are plenty of other ways to get involved. Welcome to NC State.
All right, so as you can see, the two students that did the video presentation, they talked about our residence halls. They did not call them dorms, and they also talked briefly about what we call living and learning villages. Living and learning villages, we call them villages again, they were named by the late great Kay Yow. These communities are special interest communities where students self-select to participate in based on their common interests and shared passions in one of our thematic or academic areas. We have 15 living and learning villages here at NC State. They were established in 2003. And today we have a lot of different offerings for students to choose from. We have 7 special interests. That special interest could either be our programs focusing on advocacy, for leadership, the Black Male Initiative, or Women of Welch, Honors and Scholars, and others. We have 4 advocacy-based living learning communities, 3 academic, and 1 invitation. I wanted to take note of the pictures that I'm referencing here. The top picture is a picture that was taken probably about 3 or 4 years ago of our engineering village. Our engineering village is primarily consists of first and second year students who have been admitted to the College of Engineering. As you can see here, quite a few students that participated in that program. And if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you see one person in the front with a red shirt. That is actually me. I used to be the leader, the full-time leader for that Living Learning Village. That program was established in 2013 with roughly 90 students. And as of today, the program houses over 500 students. The programs and activities that students can engage in any of our living learning communities is a deep dive into learning more about themselves, the thematic area of that community, in hopes of developing themselves and also developing their professional and personal goals. Our students can participate in their first, second, third, and fourth year, and even as grad students in some of our programs. And you know, some of the benefits of participating in these villages is the fact that, one, there is no cost to the students to participate. So we strongly encourage students and our parents who are interested in coming to NC State to take a look at these programs. You know, they range in size. Our smallest program has roughly 12 students in the program, and our largest is our exploratory studies program, focused on students in their first year who are exploring different majors, with roughly 650 students participate in that program. Some of these programs offer trips, both domestic and some international trips. They are connected with our faculty here at NC State. We have live-in faculty for some of these programs who engage with students outside of the classroom. And these intentional connections with faculty help students, you know, help to kind of break the barrier between, you know, the ability to kind of establish a relationship with faculty in the classroom. It kind of humanizes the role of a faculty member, and some of our faculty really, you know, are passionate about connecting with students outside of the classroom. And so we take advantage of students' interests and our campus partners with engaging students in that way. So many of you probably know and have lived what I call in the area of East Campus called the Quad. So I'm going to begin sort of stepping through some of our communities and sharing what our communities look like actually on the inside. And one of the things that really strikes me about NC State and the architecture is that we've taken great care of our communities. You know, kind of looking back in history, many of our buildings were constructed in the late 30s, early 40s, and 50s, and all of those structures are still standing today. University Housing and NC State University invests a lot in our facilities. Again, you know, these communities are where students live and spend a lot of their time. In some of our communities, we provide classroom spaces that where students can actually take classes inside. So here on a Quad, on the east part of campus, we have Berry, Beckton, and Bagwell residence halls. This community houses the University Honors and University Scholars participants in the Honors and Scholars Village. And so let's take our first tour through one of the facilities. So the newest facility in the Quad is the Quad Commons. This is where all of our programming, some of our learning and education takes place, and really serves as the seat and sort of focal point of this community and program. As you can see, a lot of amenities in a Quad. The Feed to Pack Pantry is housing Quad Commons. The Feed to Pack Pantry is a place where students who might be experiencing food insecurity can come and pick up food items. Very secure environment. They are welcomed to come in there, and that Feed to Pack Pantry is supported by all the students across campus, as well as faculty, staff, and alumni. Um, and so the Quad Commons houses students, as I said, with the Feed the Pack pantry, and all of the students that live in the Quad can gain access to that central focus point building to get their needs met, to in terms of resources for the community, pick up their mail and their packages and other resources. So let's take a look at Bagwell Residence Hall. So Bagwell Residence Hall is another co-ed community for our honors and scholars students. One of the things that's a huge change from when you were probably serving in undergrad is the amenities in our residence halls. Our residence halls are air conditioned. The lounges free and accessible for students. We have study areas where students can kind of support their educational success, academic success. Bagwell is a hall style community, which means that students live along a corridor on either side of the hall with a bathroom, shower, and toilet at the end of the hall called a community bathroom. And the Quad is one of my favorite places on campus. When you just look at the greenscape, you look at the architecture, the red brick, it's really a self-contained community for the students to live there. And, this community, again, was built quite some time ago. And many of our students really flock to this area, especially if they are participants in the University Honors and Scholars Program. And let's take a tour of of Berry Hall. Berry Hall is also in the Quad and part of the Honors and Scholars Program. And it's a bit smaller than the other two residence halls in this area, houses roughly 59 students. Double occupancy rooms, that means there's 2 students to a room, single gender. So if it's 2 students living in the room, they're either all male or they're all female. And as you can see, many of the lounge spaces and common areas in our residence halls actually have communal kitchens. In the communal kitchen, students can cook if they want to cook meals for the community, for themselves. Oftentimes you can find students in there baking cookies, watching NC State beat Carolina and Duke, whether it's basketball, football, or they're just hanging out and connecting with one another. Again, we invest in our community areas because we want students to spend time outside of their rooms. We want them to be in our lounges, connected with the community, have a sense of belonging, and learn more about one another. And also on East Campus is the Triad. How many of you actually lived in Syme, Gold, or Welch residence halls? Fun fact about the Triad buildings, Gold and Welch are our 2 remaining single gender residence hall communities. Gold is our all male facility and Welch is our female facility. And also in Welch Hall, it houses one of our living learning villages, the Women of Welch, and Syme Hall houses students advocating for youth. That's for students who are majoring in College of Education, actually wanting to be teachers. Those students actually spend time in K through 12, high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools, serving as mentors to students in the classroom. And we also have teaching fellows. Again, these are students who are majoring in education, wanting to be teachers, who live in community together. So let's take a look inside of Syme Hall. One of the things, again, what I really like about the architecture of NC State and our residence halls, you see the detail outside, the landscaping, the attention to detail that we spend just not inside the building, but on the green spaces. Again, we've invested a lot of resources into what our facilities look like, both inside and outside the building. Our students spend a lot of time outside the building. As you can see, our common spaces and lounges and spaces where students spend a lot of their time. All of our residence halls, the laundry, using the laundry and dryers to wash and dry their clothes are free to students. They don't have to put any quarters. The difference now is technology is kind of the common thread of 2021. Students can kind of monitor the laundries and the washer and dryers from their room. There's an app. They can actually look in their phone and see if there's a washing machine available, or how much time is on that washing machine or dryer, and before they leave their room to actually walk to the laundry facility to wash their clothes. They can kind of monitor all of that on the app on their phone. All of our facilities are Wi-Fi accessible. Students can kind of connect to the internet, especially in a time during the pandemic, attend virtual classes, stream movies and videos from social media. So a lot of things have changed, but if you look at the architecture, it still references, the legacy of NC State architecture and NC State. So Tri-Towers and the Toda area sits on the central part of campus. Really focuses, this part of campus really focuses on our first year students, in particular our exploratory study students. And these are students who are taking the time during their first year to explore majors, to identify their career path at NC State and beyond. And so Toda and the Tri-Towers on Central Campus. Tri-Towers is for Bowen, Metcalf, and Carroll residence halls. And the Tri-Towers are the three buildings that look pretty much identical in this picture. And then Tucker, Owen, Turlington, and Alexander make up the acronym Toda. Again, thinking about your time on campus and spending time in Alexander, which at one point in time was named the International House. So many of the international students that attended NC State over time lived in Alexander Hall. And Alexander is where our global village, resides. And also in Tucker and Owen residence halls, our exploratory studies program. In Turlington Hall, our arts village. And our newly established, roughly a few years ago, our Impact Leadership Village is housed in Bowen Hall. So you see all of the activity that kind of happens here on Central Campus really talks about the epicenter of campus, the close proximity to resources, classes. When you think about accessing the free expression tunnel to get to classes on the other side of the train tracks, being close to the Talley Student Center, to the dining hall and facilities. A lot of students spend the majority of their time on this part of campus, and it becomes vital in really helping students transition into NC State University, and also to establish a very strong academic year in their first as freshmen. So let's take a tour of Central Campus. So how many of you remember this view? What we're seeing here is Tucker Hall. If you kind of recall what that looks like. And then Owen Residence Hall is coming into view here. You see the green space. A lot of students spend a time here, especially when the weather's nice, at Tucker Beach. And we actually, fun fact, at the end of every year, we have a Battle of the Beach where Tucker and Owen residence halls actually play volleyball on this volleyball court to compete to determine who will have naming rights for the next academic year for the beach. So this year, is called Tucker Beach. And who knows, next year it might be called Owen Beach. We never know, but every year there's a battle for the beach to determine naming rights for that space. You see a lot of picnic tables. The green picnic tables here to the right of this image actually has solar panels. So students can actually sit there, study outside, connect their cellular devices and laptops and kind of charge and be connected to power and still be outside.
Hey, Chester.
Yes.
Hey, Chester, trying to disrupt you. It's going great. We just can't see when you click on those links. We're not seeing that. So it might be on your other screen.
Okay, I am so sorry.
No problem.
Let me come back. I apologize. Tab. Okay. How about that? Do you see that now?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So sorry. I apologize. So again, this is a view of Central Campus here. Again, Tucker and Owen Beach, where there's a battle of the beach at the end of the year for naming rights for the space. And then you can see the Tri-Towers, where here in Bowen Hall houses the Impact Leadership Village. So again, a lot of activity. You can see some of the trees and the green space in this area. A lot of students spend a lot of time outside during the spring semester, especially when the weather gets warm. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to the I'm going to switch back to, and I apologize for the switch to the presentation. I want to quickly show Turlington Residence Hall. Again, this is where the Arts Village is housed. We're going to quickly go through here and recognizing time. I want to make sure I leave time for questions. Turlington Residence Hall is a corridor style residence hall, which means that both sides of the hallway, we have 2 students per room with a community bathroom at the end of the hall. The lounge space where the Arts Village is housed, you can see a communal kitchen where students can participate. You can see the art studio where students participating in the Arts Village can create art. Students get to sell their art both to other students and to the community. Again, you know, this is a community on the outside of the residence hall. It really hasn't changed quite a bit. You see the artist's backyard. One of the things, you know, I talked about in terms of investing in outside landscaping, University Housing has partnered with the College of Design, you know, to kind of design spaces outside of the building to make them more inviting to students that live on campus in these parts of campus. So I'm going to end there. Can you see my screen now, Timothy? Just want to make sure. All right. So on to West Campus. West Campus has, in its own right, has become the part of campus that's focused on science, technology, engineering, and math, housing both our Women in Science and Engineering, our Engineering Village, and our Eco Village, which is a sustainability program and community. Just in light of time, I want to do a quick tour of Lee Residence Hall so that you can kind of see some of the amenities that students in this community get to enjoy. Lee Hall is a suite style community similar to Sullivan Hall. They're virtually identical in terms of the look and feel inside the suite where students live. This is the Lee Hall lobby, which might look somewhat familiar to anyone who may have lived in Lee Hall. Again, Lee Hall houses our women in science and engineering, and they have a suite in the residence hall that
we can't see Lee Hall.
Yet again. Okay. I apologize.
Sorry.
Nope, that's my fault. Tab. Okay. Do you see that now?
Perfect.
Okay. Let me. I'm gonna go and play again. One of the amenities where a lot of students spend their time is in the Long Walk Cafe, which is on the ground floor of Lee Residence Hall. Lounge space, pretty large actually. Laundry facilities, again, it houses our Women in Science and Engineering program. And this is where many of our students spend a lot of their time. And again, this shows the investment that University Housing has placed, in spaces where our students live, in terms of educating, keeping the facilities up to date and up to code, and the look and feel inside of our suites. And I'm going to go back to pardon the switch. Okay. And I talked briefly about Bregal Hall, and I know you can't see that, so I'm going to share very quickly. Pardon the transition. Bregal Hall continues to be, as it was when it was originally built, one of the most popular places to live on campus. Every year, students literally fight one another. It's a lot of demand and competition to live in Bregal Hall, and one of the main reasons is because of location. You recall the term location. Bregal Hall sits in the very center of campus, accessible to dining facilities, which is right next door to Fountain Hall, short walking distance to classes on the north side of campus, and the students just love the space. Quick transition back. And I'm going to transition to our apartment communities. Okay, one of the newest additions to University Housing is apartment communities. What you see here is Wolf Village and Wolf Ridge apartments that house our second year transition and transfer experience, as well as our Albright Entrepreneurship Village. Students in the second year transition and transfer experience is exactly what it is. It's a themed experience for students in these two population groups to help ease the transition into their second year, thinking about our freshmen who have joined majors, and really it's almost like a restart of their first year. And also for our transfers, new to the institution, they are not freshmen. They need to feel a sense of community and connectedness to campus. And these two communities are primarily where these populations are housed. And I'm going to switch screens so you can actually see one of the apartments. Pardon me for the transition again. Okay. So this is our apartments. Wolf Village houses roughly 1,200 students. Each apartment houses 4 students. Each student has their own bedroom, As you can see, one of the amenities is a gym where students can go and work out on their free time. There is also a C-store in the community. It's a small convenience store selling snacks and small items that students might need. Each of the apartments include a washer, dryer, full kitchen with a stove, refrigerator. There isn't a dishwasher in this community. We want our students to actually learn how to wash dishes. How about that? And I'm going to switch back really quickly. Okay, and I'm going to transition. I'm not going to show. And another area of campus, some of you might remember early in the presentation, I talked about McKim Village, which is now E.S. King Village. These communities house our sophomores, juniors, seniors, grad students, postdocs, as well as faculty and staff. Each of these apartment communities have full apartments. So, you think about being in a full apartment, especially if you are a married, either a student or a faculty and staff member. Students can, live in these communities. And I'm going to take a quick tour of E.S. King Village, just to kind of give you a sense of what a full-size apartment that's connected to the university and is managed by university housing kind of looks like. There's a large population of international students that live here in E.S. King as well. The community has plenty of common space. These apartments are quite large. 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom, and studio apartments exist in this community. Again, recognizing that this community was built in the 1950s, I believe. University housing, our facilities departments kind of maintain and manages the community, and we also have young kids. So a lot of our programming and engagement in this community not just engages with adults, but also looks out for their kids. Apologize. Quick transition. And we also have what are called hotel-style communities. Our Avon Ferry, the Ferry Complex and North Hall offer opportunities for our students. And so when we say hotel-style, that's exactly what it means. If you kind of look at this, it's almost kind of looks like it looks like a hotel. All of the exterior doors go into a room where 2 students live, and they actually have a bathroom connected with it. And very quickly show you what one of these look like. I hope this is the right tab. Oops. Sorry. Okay. When University Housing took this community over, so this was a purchase for the university. We have students living here, and so there needed to be some renovations to kind of accommodate students' needs, provide common spaces to support the academic success, the ability to build community, to have common spaces for them to study. You see computer labs here, lounges for students to kind of relax and meet and greet with one another. Again, very popular areas. And one of the things that I'll say about all of our common areas across campus, we spend a lot of time talking to students, and so they have a lot of input on what these spaces look like, from furniture to paint to other accessory or items that students might want to see, even a game room. Many of our residence halls have game rooms, whether it's foosball, ping pong, pool table, or video games. There's something for everyone. And I think I am at the end. All right, and so I kind of zipped through those last few slides, recognizing time. I do want to make sure that there is time for folks to ask questions. I know I dumped a lot of information. I hope you found it enlightening to kind of see the transition that NC State and University Housing has made from your time as undergrad students in the late 60s, early 70s, to what these communities look like for students and how students engage and learn in the residence halls today. So I'll end there and see if there are any questions.
Hey everyone, again, so thank you, Chester. Even with the difficulties we had a little bit, it did an amazing job. So really thank you, Chester, for that. If you have any questions, any comments, please put them in the chat, and we can get those answered for you.
All right, and folks, I apologize for those small hiccups where you weren't able to see the screen for a moment.
Yes, but we will also include those links in a follow-up email to you all. Yes, so and so we can get those to you if you weren't able to see those. So yeah, but again, thank you so much, Chester, for rolling the punches. There don't seem to be any questions coming in. Okay, well, if that's the case, we didn't have no questions. Well, I think it seems like you did an amazing job there. If you don't have any questions, that means you did it. You did great. Again, thank you all so much for attending this event. Please be on the lookout for virtual reunion, the Forever Club virtual reunion. That information was sent out this week. So please join us in May as we celebrate and bring in the classes of 70 and 71 into the Forever Club. And once again, thank you to our members who are members of the Alumni Association, because without you, programs could not happen. So if you're not a member, highly encourage you to become a member, lifetime member of the NC State Alumni Association. So again, thank you to Chester and thank you to you all for attending. Until next time, how back.